On the western bank of the Nile in Giza, Egypt, men and women are busy cleaning the river. Every day they remove more than 300 kilograms of plastic from the Nile. They are part of the VeryNile initiative, a project launched in 2018 to gather plastic garbage and raise awareness on the importance of protecting the environment. This huge structure, weighing more than 7,500 kilograms, was erected by volunteers using plastic garbage. We chose to build a pyramid as a huge Egyptian symbol. It is made of plastic collected from the Nile to show people the scale of the problem. The collection of plastic had not been done in a long time, so in order to build a pyramid, we started collecting plastic. It was a 55-day work done by 6 fishermen, and we bought the plastic they collected. It's an extra income for them. VeryNile volunteers unveiled the world's biggest plastic pyramid on World Cleanup Day. Around 250,000 plastic bottles collected from the Nile were used, an achievement for an entire team. We spent 3 years cleaning the Nile, buying plastic from the fishermen who collect it. They collected more plastic than fish. Plastic can stay in the river for hundreds of years without breaking down. If these plastic bottles will be recycled into yarns, plastic pollution remains a challenge, especially for the fishing sector. According to a World Economic Forum study, over 80% of all riverborne plastic comes from just 10 rivers, amongst which the Nile.
The amount of fish in the river is no longer big as it used to be. Consequently, now the fishermen are involved in cleaning the Nile to get extra income. And recently we have extracted tons of plastic from the river. Plastic affects our lives, the environment and everything else.
Plastic collected is also turned into products such as bags or accessories. An upcycling workshop led by women from the Kusaya Island enables them to secure funds. VeryNile is supported by the Drossels Foundation, One Earth, One Ocean organization and the Egyptian Ministry of Environment. The country will host the next UN World Climate Conference in November.
Representative of the last wave of African leaders, Namibian President Hage Geingob was in Luanda for the inauguration of Joao Lourenço and shared with VeryNews his vision of current African politics.
3 waves of African leaders.
The first wave was those extraordinary personalities who told us to take arms and fight, like Sekou Touré, Agostino Neto and others. The second wave was caught up in, let's say, the confusion of the Cold War. Now, as I say, the third wave of African leaders is asserting the constitutional path. We believe in limiting mandate. Of course, there are those who are going backward, who want to change the constitution to remain in power. But generally, the people want elections. Democratic elections everywhere, but nobody is perfect. Just look at America. I strongly believe in limiting presidential terms because if you are elected directly by the people, you don't really have anyone to answer to. But if you are elected by parliament, well, that's not what I advocate, but that's what many are doing. During his stay in the neighboring country, Hage Geingob did not forget who supported Namibia during the independence struggle. When President Neto died, José Eduardo dos Santos took power. Our armed struggle was possible because we had our rare base here in Angola and he was the president who supported us. We were a really good comrade. I knew him personally. He didn't usually travel, but he went to Namibia for my inauguration. We were very close. Now, when it was the funeral, I couldn't travel and I thought I had to go and pay a last tribute to him.
I have to come and at least pay my last respects.
2 leaders of Tunisia's Islamist opposition party, Ennahda, were surrounded by supporters Monday afternoon as they arrived to appear for questioning before an anti-terror unit in Tunis. The chief of the party, Rachid Ghannouchi, and one of his deputies, Ali Al-Arid, are accused of sending jihadist militants to Syria and Iraq, and Nahda firmly denies the claims, and supporters denounce a witch hunt. This is a new episode of persecution of those opposed to the president's power grab. It aims to silence everyone, to damage the image of the party and to defame us. This case opened with the summoning of the President of the Parliament and the former head of government, respectively Rashid Ghannouchi and Al-Arif, is a case created out of thin air, baseless and with no evidence. Late Monday, Ghannouchi's lawyer revealed that he was allowed to leave and his questioning rescheduled for Tuesday, while his deputy remained in the headquarters of the anti-terror unit. Critics of the party and some politicians accuse Nahda of having facilitated the departure of Islamist militants for war zones after the 2011 revolution. By 2025, Uganda will have its oil coming out of the East Africa crude oil pipeline as planned. The comments of leader Yoweri Museveni reaffirmed his determination to have the project completed. His reaction came Friday following a resolution by the European Union's Parliament urging the international community to exert maximum pressure on Ugandan and Tanzanian authorities, as well as the project promoters and stakeholders, to stop oil activities around Lake Albert. Uganda is estimated to have recoverable oil reserves of at least 1.4 billion barrels. In February, the China National Offshore Oil Corporation and TotalEnergies said that the total investment would be more than $10 billion. Kampala says oil wealth can lift millions out of poverty when environmental NGOs like Friends of the Earth evaluated that over 120,000 people will lose land to make way for the project. Museveni said TotalEnergies had assured him that the pipeline, which would link oil fields in western Uganda to the Indian Ocean port of Tanga in Tanzania, would proceed, but warned on Twitter that if the French energy group was to choose to listen to the EU Parliament, Uganda shall find another partner. Joseph Wagadoma is on his way to his plot of land in Kayunga, central Uganda. If the farmer and his wife are used to tending their bean garden, something has changed. In the past few months, the couple switched to organic fertilizers. They are hit by a global shortage in crop fertilizers caused by sanctions on Russia, bad weather and cuts in export. What inspired me to turn to organic fertilizer was the price of chemical fertilizer. I had no other source of money to continue with it. The small harvests we were getting would only cater for basic household needs. So by the start of the planting season, you have no money for fertilizers to prepare your garden with. Dozens of kilometers away from Joseph's farm, workers are collecting organic waste in this Kampala warehouse. The Marula Protein Company is behind the production of less costly organic fertilizer. The CEO and founder explains how the process works.
We shred all the waste, we ferment it in drums, and the fermentation makes the waste soft. And then this soft waste is fed to our maggots for a period of 8 days, 7 to 8 days. The maggots, they eat it, their enzymes consume it, they're breaking down all the waste. And in essence, the larva poo is the fertilizer. And it's similar to what happens in nature. In nature, something dies and it rots and it gets eaten by maggots, and then it goes into the soil. So that's the process that we're mimicking.
When the idea of protein was born in late 2017 in the brains of the CEO and his advisor, they were preoccupied by the animal feed and sustainability challenges Ugandan farmers faced. The project has a bigger impact because of the war in Europe.
30 to 40% of the total fertilizer available, chemical fertilizer available, isn't there anymore. And Europe needs it, Brazil needs it, the US needs it. So it's going to places other than Uganda, other than Africa. So in our case, we don't just have an opportunity to sell organic fertilizer, we also have an opportunity to teach farmers how to use organic and start managing their farm in a more organic way.
We are receiving a lot of positive feedback from our farmers because in the beginning, before the introduction of this technology, they used to use synthetic fertilizers, which are more expensive on market.
Marula Protein also prides itself of providing a clean and safe fertilizer which can improve the soil. Larvae farming programs exist in countries including Nigeria and Kenya.